Hi everyone, welcome back to another journal with me, chatty kind of video. This will probably end up becoming the norm for the foreseeable future. I find it really easy to do these sort of videos. I daily journal every single day, so filming the setup is really quite easy. And I have gotten really good feedback at the really long kind of form journal with me videos. People seem to really enjoy that. My mic isn't centered. Let's try this. Hopefully that helped. I don't know if it did. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, people really enjoy the long journal with me's. So I thought, hey, what better way to just film my daily setup every week and then chuck a voiceover on top of that. It's quite simple. I will do my best to remember to show unboxings constantly as well. I have an unboxing of ink. This video, I got some new inks. It's Versa, oh no, what are they called? They're VersaCraft. They are Sorami? I don't know. You'll know what they are when you see them. As I've mentioned before, or in my 2024 favorites video, I have rediscovered the magic of Versa Magic ink pads. I have become somewhat of a Hobonichi girly, which is crazy to me. I never thought I would get that far, but or become that. But I have been using my Hobonichi grid notebook as my everything journal. It's where I go for ranting, life archiving. It's a commonplace book essentially, right? Or how people have sort of modernized a commonplace book. It's where I like to go for everything that isn't daily journaling, and obviously media logging and my music journaling. But you know, all the things that I want to do a lot of writing, I go into my Hobonichi. My goodness, I have too many journals. I have also realized that the Versa Magics they don't bleed through the Hobonichi paper as often. So I was like, I've only got 3 colors. I've got the Sage, the Wheat, and the Sahara Sands, I believe, are the color names that I have in Versa Magic. And I've been missing a bit more variety in the ink pad colors. So I was going to buy a couple more colors from the Versa Magic line itself. But then I have seen a couple of videos on YouTube and on Instagram of these tiny little finger puppet style ink pads, and they looked to me as if they were very similar to the Versa Magic in terms of texture and spongy foaminess of the ink pad. And I was like, oh, that looks really interesting. And I really like my ink pads to be easily transportable. I don't like big clunky ink pads, which is why I bought mini versions of the big Sasha. There you go, Marcy. There's me stumbling over that ink pad name. So I bought mini versions of that to keep in my Delphonics pouch at all times. So when I do go out and bring some random ink pad stamps, I've got those ink pads ready, and I don't have to carry around a big clunky mess of it, because I don't think ahead, and I'm very much a mood kind of ink person. Color person, color palette. Some days maybe I really dig in blue and all I want is a blue ink pad kind of thing. Anyway, so because I'm in the Hobonichi and I need less intense, I guess, wet ink for my stamps, I realized that Versa Magic does really well, and I bought these in hope that they would be very, very similar in that way of just not, I don't even know how to really talk about it, but just less for bleeding and more so I can use my stamps in my Hobonichi without using them on a different piece of paper first, or without them bleeding. Especially because I like layering stamps. So in my brain, and how I've sort of separated my my stamp collection, is layering stamps and then top layer stamps sort of thing, or the main attraction stamps. So for example, layering stamps are sort of the Hase stamps, where they're just very delicate words, or band fan stamps. They're a lot more delicate design. They're not really there for being main attraction. They are sort of a background sort of thing, or you use them to make things look really, really pretty, but they're not necessarily in your face. With like girl stamps, like the La Dolce Vita stamps, like on the tin right now. Or even Doodoo Lulu stamps. So like they're bigger, they've got more block detail, so you see a lot more ink on them. You can put them on a random piece of paper and cut around them and they look basically just like stickers. Whereas that's really hard to do on something like say the Hersey original book stamp. If you stamp that and try and cut around it, it looks a little bit weird to me. So I consider them more like a layering stamp, like you put them over the top of pieces of paper just to give it just to zhuzh it up a little bit. So when I look at using them in my Hobonichi, I do tend to go for the Versamagic style ink pads because I know that they won't bleed through. Whereas the Sashihira, whatever they're called, they will bleed through. I've had really bad experiences of those with the bleed through with them because they're such a juicy ink pad. I know that like any ink, regardless of what you use, the Hobonichi paper takes forever. Anything on there takes forever to dry. So even with the Versamagic, I still need to keep the book open or use my blotting paper when I want to close the book. Which is why all of my Hobonichi notebooks have like 3 or 4 loose leaves of paper in them, because I use them to put in between the pages to make sure that they don't smudge or bleed in onto each other's pages, because I'm not the person, I don't have enough space to just leave a book open on my desk for waiting for ink to dry. So I will move on relatively quickly and I'll just put a piece of paper in between the two pages so they bleed onto that piece of paper rather than onto each other, if that makes sense. It works for me. I don't really care. I don't think of it as a loss necessarily. The Hobonichi paper is ridiculously thin, and I think it's just a payoff that people need to get used to. At the same time, I completely understand why that's annoying to some people, and not everybody has time for that, or not everybody wants to be that kind of delicate with their papers. And again, I'm definitely one of those people as well. I definitely get, at first it was a learning curve and I got annoyed at that, which is one of the reasons why it took me 6 years to rediscover Hobonichi, because I was just so done with, again, being a bit more precious with how you use them. But I think I've gotten over that. I have learnt that you're allowed to be a bit precious with things, I guess, or I've gotten over myself, I guess, in that way of, it's not the end of the world if a page needs a little bit longer to dry. But yeah, that's why I bought those ink pads, and I love them. I really, really enjoy them. I think I've used them exclusively since I've bought them. I did end up going back and buying 4 more sets of the ink pads just to have color options and things like that. I was tempted, the completionist, like the collector in me and the completionist in me really wanted to just buy all of them, but I was like, no, I'm only going to use like maybe one of the colors on that set, so I will stop and only really look at the ones that I really liked. It took me a long time to figure out, or to be truly honest with myself about which colors that I would and wouldn't use, because it is kind of frustrating that they don't come individually. Like, you can't buy individual colors, you have to buy them in the 4-pack sets. That's kind of frustrating, but whatever. It's a good gimmick. They are really handy and they are very transportable, and I love them. I think and the colors are absolutely gorgeous. I'm very pleased that I convinced myself to give them a go. There was a second there where I was just going to do probably the responsible thing and just buy more Versamagics, because I know the colors, I know that I like them, I know what they're about, but I am really pleased because I adore pretty much all of these colors. I've used them all and I have absolutely no regrets. Something else I thought would be fun to do is talk about the media that I've been consuming lately. I am quite a private person. I don't really love sharing a lot of personal details about my life, but I'm happy to talk about media all day long. So what I have read and listened to and watched the past week, I'm thinking I'll do like a little bit of a download, like be like a like a mini media log. It's really great about this is I can reference my media log, which is amazing. So this past week, oh my god, I'll do that. It's just this past week. Let me just find my media log. This past week was actually a little bit duller than normal. What happened? Something happened. I think I just had a lot of visitors at one point, so I was very much just busy with that, and I haven't really got any TV shows to watch. I mean, we finished all the ones that we were anticipating last year, and nothing new has really grabbed our attention. But the past week I have been listening to the Rachel Chinariri, I think is how you pronounce her last name, radio. So I discovered Chinariri recently, and I really like all of her music. I think she's absolutely incredible. But something else that I've realized is that I love her music, but I still want sort of like a shuffle vibe, but I want it to be in the vibe of her. And that's when I discovered the radio versions. I was like, oh my god, there's like playlists that are like quote unquote radio-y. So I get really good similar vibe music that isn't just Rachel Chinariri, and I've discovered a lot of new artists through that. I thought that was so cool. So I've just been shuffling that radio playlist every morning. So in my media log I actually have Rachel Chinariri radio, because even though like I know it's the first song I listen to, but I wanted to document that I'm using the radio system rather than it's me going to my like songs or going to my hyperfixation playlist and pressing the same song every single time. It is just, I'm obsessed with the radio, not necessarily any particular song on that radio. So that's what I've been watching. I had my period over that weekend, so I was feeling sad. So I watched the behind the scenes of The Hobbit. So one of my just comforts is watching the behind the scenes stuff or the makings of films. I really love it, and The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings are my favorite films. I really love them. For my birthday this year, I'm really hoping to get another Lord of the Rings tattoo. I currently have, it's actually really funny, I prefer Lord of the Rings, but all of my tattoos are related to The Hobbit so far. So like I have the Lonely Mountain and Smaug the Dragon from the Hobbit novel on my shoulder, and I have the rune that in the movie that Gandalf carved into the door of into Bilbo's door on my wrist. You probably see it every now and then. I think it's the rune for G from the movies. I know it's different in the books, but I didn't really like any of the illustrations that people have drawn or that even Tolkien drew of the carving in his door. So I was like, we'll just use the movie. I really like the movie. And it's kind of cool because it's a rune, I can kind of pretend that sometimes I'm like, depending, because my brother's really into like Nordic stuff, so sometimes like, yeah, I got a cool Nordic rune as well, but it's purely nerdy, which is actually really funny because obviously Tolkien really, did his research, and he was very much a history nerd as well, so the runes are very similarly based on real languages. Not that you needed that information. But anyway, so for my birthday this year, I really want to get Dwalin's axes from The Hobbit. I really love those axes. Dwalin's is my favorite character in The Hobbit. In the movies particularly, obviously, The Hobbit doesn't really go into a lot of the characters in a big way. It is a children's book. Anyway, and with the behind the scenes, I really love listening to Travis. I've immediately lost his name isn't Travis either, which is so embarrassing. But I really like him talking about Graham McTavish is his name. Graham McTavish. For some reason, my brain thinks Travis Willingham, which is a character from Critical Role or an actor from Critical Role. For some reason, my brain just sees Graham McTavish's face and puts Willingham's face name to his face. I have no idea why. But anyway, so I really like listening to him talk about his character creation, because obviously the actors were really involved with what weapons they chose and like the way they looked a little bit. They had a little bit of input with the costume designers and the weapon masters for that, which I think is so cool. And listening to him talk about his axes talking about how he named them Grasper and Keeper after Bronte's dogs, which I thought, again, is a really cool thing. I really like that kind of classical literature as well. It was just kind of like a cool amalgamation of a lot of things. Anyway, so I want that for my birthday tattoo, and when I'm sad, I rewatch The Hobbit specifically. Not so much Lord of the Rings, because I will cry a lot during the Lord of the Rings one, because it's so heavily nostalgic to me, and I get weirdly emotional. So that's what I've got for the first couple of days. We watched The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, a movie. We don't watch a lot of movies. I've realized since tracking my media, I realized I don't watch a lot of film, which I thought was really interesting. I used to think that I watched a lot of movies, but no way. So that's the first movie of the year. It was good. It was classic Guy Ritchie. Like, I don't feel like Guy Ritchie's films are always super deep or anything like that. They're just old-timey dudes having a heist. It was basically Ocean's 11 meets a World War II movie. It was great. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. Of course, it's Henry Cavill, so it wasn't hard to watch either. Love his face. And then after that, I didn't do anything. I didn't really listen to music. I didn't watch anything. So I've got Thursday, Friday blank. And then on Saturday, I renewed my subscription to the Binge streaming service. So I've started watching Taskmaster again. More specifically, the UK Taskmaster. I love that show. It is so funny. We watched season 9 over that weekend, and I just love how what people do Under Pressure is hysterical. I watched season 9, so that was David Baddiel, Joe Brand, Rose Matafeo, who was my favorite of the lot, Ed Gamble, and who else? Joe Brand. Oh, and Katie Wicks. All hysterical for completely different reasons, which was fantastic. David Baddiel and Joe Brand made me laugh the most. I just really like how they get super old. Not super old, that's so mean of me to say. Just middle-aged people who do not care onto these sort of Taskmaster shows, and they just don't care. They just sit there. Like, Joe Brand did everything she could not to move, or to move as little as possible. And honestly, it's a vibe. I get it. So yeah, just watching all the watching all of their individualness Under Pressure was fantastic. So yeah, so I really enjoyed that. That was really, really good. But that's what I did last week in terms of like media. It was a really slow week for media for me, and I really don't know how to decorate the decorative page. I'll probably do a bunch of Hobbit stuff, because I really like the Hobbit stuff, and because I didn't journal back then, I didn't really have an opportunity to do find really pretty fan art and stuff like that, and I've been coming across a lot of good Hobbit fan art lately, so I am pleased. I'll probably just fill it up with really pretty fan art. Yeah, that's probably what I'll do. I think I can stop talking now. I think talking about the media is a great idea, because it is something that I really, really, really like doing and like talking about. So I will continue that. If I haven't got stationary news to talk about, I'm going to talk about what I read, listen to, and watch. I think that'll be a fun recap, even for me to do for myself, every week, looking at my media log and stuff like that. Because my media log is still my favorite journal at the moment. I adore it. I adore it. It is fantastic. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up there. And I shall see you guys, we'll talk to you guys. I don't see you guys. I will talk to you guys next week. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.